Ready to Work, the podcast with success secrets for the young tech professional. Hello, I am Brit Sethi, and this is the Ready to Work podcast. Looking for a job is not easy. There are many failures and rejections along the way. You have to pick yourself up every time and get back to sending out resumes and doing interviews. Even before you get to interview, you have to build deep skills that are valuable to employers. These skills require practice over a period of time. It can be tiring, yet you have to continue. This is not the glamorous part, but it is an essential part. Today, let us look at resilience and learning to fail better. Let us also look at sustaining ourselves and doing deep work. We have SN with us today. He is a champion at running the long distance race. Many years ago, when he passed out of IIT, he did not stop learning. He, in fact, took it upon himself to dive deeper into technology than anyone else around him. SN is no stranger to persistence, be it across businesses he has created or be it across helping others. He has taught for 17 years at IIITB Bangalore out of a long term commitment to helping others succeed. Welcome, SN.
Thank you, Britt. Thank you for having me here.
Tell us more about your early years right out of college.
I completed my undergraduate in 1979, later part of 1979, and it was a time of unemployment, as you know, and most of my colleagues also were looking for jobs in government or public sectors, and that was the major opportunity for employment. Many of us had that challenge of finding the first job. There was no campus interviews, there was no campus placement, none of that. So I graduated from the College of Engineering at Thrissur in Kerala, and I was a university topper in that year. In spite of that, I could not get immediately a job, so I had to go to Chennai and literally made 600 job applications before I could find one job. And
Did
these,
you say 600?
yes, so
That's a huge number, yeah.
yeah, I used to walk to different companies and gave my resume there at the reception, hoping that somebody will call, just like a notice, right? And I had to do that because I needed a job very quickly, and I couldn't wait for even our results to come. So next day after the exam, I went to Chennai and tried to look for a job. Now, with that background, I wanted to seriously get into computing, and I was applying for all these jobs. And the CMC, Computer Maintenance Corporation, called me for an interview and a written test in Calcutta. And that gentleman who interviewed me, I can never forget. He was like one of those gods, messiahs that came in front of me. Uh, so he called me for the interview and he said, if you want this job, you can get it because you've done extremely well in the test. But is this what you want to do? Do you know what this job is? So this was the first time I learned about computer maintenance was not about computers. It was a lot more about oiling the various wheels of the computer and replacing some bearings when they go bad and things like that, and card readers and tape punch equipment and all those things like the olden days computers. So he was the one who motivated me to join IIT. So he said you should go and do a proper course from IIT to learn computer science, and that is different from just writing some code or maintaining some systems, right?
I think the importance of mentors, even at that time, a mentor made a huge difference to you, right?
Yes, exactly.
Even though he had not called himself your mentor, he was just interviewing you.
Right.
He literally reshaped your direction.
Correct.
You mentioned that you struggled hard in the early part of your career to find opportunities, and it must have been very demotivating to see setbacks. How did you handle those setbacks? What did you do to keep yourself going, SN?
Yeah. See, in fact, if I really look at myself over the several years that I have lived through this world, in my younger days, I was less concerned about setbacks. It's probably because of our middle class upbringing and resource restricted life that we had to go through. In fact, probably today's world is very different from the world that I'm talking about. In the 70s and the 80s, the opportunities were not that many, and therefore our expectations also probably were lower. Okay, so we were not expecting that as soon as we complete, we get a job. So sometimes that helps, but many people that I see today, youngsters, their expectations are very high, and they expect that the first interview they go through should get turn out to be a job offer, right? That doesn't usually happen that way. So every time you learn from it, you see that okay, what did you do right and what did you not do right, and try again.
How about commenting on the direction of expectations also? Because on one side, financial expectations were not too high, but you were ready to not take up a job at CMC, even though you had been applying at 600 places, because you saw a direction that you should not be doing this kind of job, but the mentor says you should get qualified first and then do programming kind of a job. So on that direction, you were willing to set yourself pretty remarkably high goals for yourself. Is this ability to be more resilient also a function of what kind of goals you set for yourself?
Yeah, if I want to reflect back on that, I can say that from my younger days, I was willing to listen. I was willing to change my points of view or my directions by listening to other people who have experience in that. Right. So even from my in fact, when I completed my PUC, as they say, plus two equivalent those days, my interest was to do physics and become a PhD in physics. That was my interest. But my physics professor advised me against it. So he said, "Why don't you do engineering? And you have these practical skills. And if you want to do PhD at a later time, you can always do. Even in engineering, you can do that. It would give you a better career than trying to do a physics PhD." And we had a reasonably long conversation after on that. And finally, I was convinced to change my mind and I did engineering. Right? If you're willing to listen, you'll always find somebody who understands what you want to do, or is already doing what you want to do, and get guidance from them.
So it is not enough to find just a good mentor. It is also important to listen receptively and act upon what you and the mentor agree upon or what you hear. But as you get into a particular direction, it becomes not just about finding new directions, but digging deeper into whatever you have chosen for yourself.
Exactly right. So direction is one. Second is, do you have the fuel for it, right? And if I really look at what I did work in my entire career, probably many things were invented after we graduated. So they were not things that we were taught in the school. So we had to learn things as they happened around us, and that meant a lot of pioneering yourself into something without much of a guidance sometimes, and be able to go deeper into it and understand and do that. So that's a capability that people must develop because that's very, very valuable.
It seems very attractive that you should build up skills and you should go deep into a topic. In reality, it can become tedious, it can become boring, and we have so many distractions today. Continuous bombardment from different sides. How does one stay focused? How does one go deeper? How does one build skills?
Absolutely. In fact, people play games for 3.5 hours. In fact, that's a published data. Now, how are they able to do that concentration? That concentration comes from the fact that they're enjoying the process. So you have to discover what else can be like that and where you can productively apply this kind of concentration.
So I've noticed that when you sit down to write an exam, if it's a 3-hour exam and you happen to know the stuff that is being asked, time just flies in, and it seems almost like an instant, and the exam is over. What they call a state of flow. And maybe this is one of the rewards of doing deep work. But I think it has to be consciously cultivated in the beginning. And I hear you saying that you have to make the effort to build this for yourself, because without this, expertise is not possible. So it is not about using brute willpower every time that, oh, I am going to exercise my willpower and make myself study for a longer time or work at it. You start by doing that maybe, but then it becomes sweet for its own sake.
Exactly. It must become.
We have looked at how to do deep work and how addressing setbacks and failures is important even in job search. Is there anything that you have seen as a recurring pattern as you have taught at Triple ITB?
See, first of all, I find today's students much, much better than our time. Okay. So when we try to compare, say like, what did I know when I completed my engineering? Okay, and what was my level of knowledge about the world? What was my level of access to information? To anything in that factor, if you see, by and large, people know more than we knew in those days, right? And that is also because of the time in which they are born. Many of them are born with Google search, right? So uh, getting information is very easy, for many of them. They are born after Google search was born, right? So that was a very interesting change in the way the world works, right? But what I feel they are not making use of is the access that they've got, the power that they've got. They are not using it fully. Okay, because very often I used to give challenges in my course that if you are able to add one piece of code to Debian, okay, go and fix a problem in Debian or do anything like that, then you don't have to write any exams. Okay, I'll straight away give you a grade. Now, many people couldn't do that. They thought the easier way. They didn't want to take the risk of trying that. Some of them even tried doing it, but they also had the backup plan of writing the exams, right? So that they don't, in case they didn't succeed, it's okay, right? They will get still a good grade. So one of the points I'm finding is they are less willing to take risks, and their expectations are so high, and they expect that they should become hugely successful before they are 30, right? So those are realistic. They are not realistic expectations. So that is something they have to be careful about. They should be willing to experiment. Certain jobs may not work out, so move on to another job where you can find a better joy and your engagement is better in the job, right? So those are things which I find in today's students have to change. Students or early employee. Other than that, the information is available to them. That's not the issue anymore.
So it's interesting, when we were in college, we would always accuse the topper of not taking risks because he was so keen on staying on top of his class that he would not go out of the way to do anything that would, jeopardize his marks. And here is a topper saying that take more risks. And times have changed, and in these changed times, if you don't take risks, then just being good with what you do will perhaps not suffice.
That's right. Actually, when I use the word risk, I'm not even meaning something that will be life threatening for them or anything like that, or career threatening. I'm talking about be willing to experiment and discover yourself. Right. It's very important for the initial years they have to discover themselves in what they enjoy. And then it becomes easier for them. And building deeper competence in that is also very easy. And with all the information and artificial intelligence around us and everything that's happening around us, the only thing that will keep the person relevant in the world of tomorrow is their ability to learn. So they have to continuously be willing to learn and develop that skill and develop deep skills. Deep cognitive skills will be very essential for them to succeed. And those deep skills are possible. It may not be stereotypical that everybody is great in maths or data science or whatever. If somebody is very good in art, somebody is very good in history, somebody is very good in, say, journalism, whatever it is, they have to pick where their passion is. Passion is not about enjoyment alone. Okay, when you are enjoying yourself, it's entertainment, right? Passion is not really entertainment. Yeah, passion will also mean hard work. It may be like working out in the gym. If you want to develop your body, you have to work out in the gym. If you are really passionate to become a bodybuilder like Schwarzenegger, so you have to be willing to put that kind of effort for it. Right? That's basically what I mean.
So, which brings us back to deep work and how you have to sustain and persist over a period of time after you have identified something in which you can be passionate, and not passionate as in enjoyment, but as in putting in the hard work like Arnold Schwarzenegger did for building his muscles. So, thank you very much for sharing your insights and also your stories.
Thank you very much, Brij. I think it was good interaction that we had, and thank you for this opportunity and share some of my thoughts.
Thank you for sparing the time and for putting this out. If you like this podcast, do subscribe to our weekly episodes. Please also visit www.readytowork.in for more insights on career readiness. I'm your host, Brij Sethi, and this is the Ready to Work podcast, the podcast with success secrets for the young tech professional.